This is just a brief introduction into what I'm trying to do in this video, which is to create a solo Cthulhu role-playing adventure. And my original idea was to use this book, Cthulhu Abides, which is a role-playing game, which is available on Amazon, and it's very, very cheap. I found the rule system a little too awkward for me. It uses an interesting mechanic called the poker dice system. I did find one little a really odd quirk with it, because I was reading the Whisper in the Darkness. There's this part here where the recording of this terrible ritual says, so from the worlds of night to the gulfs of space, and from the gulfs of space to the worlds of night, ever the praises of great Cthulhu, of Sathogwa, and of him who is not to be named, ever their praises and abundance to the, basically he's mentioning the Mygo are mentioning Cthulhu in positive terms. And it's just in here, when I was looking up the Mygo, because I was reading that story, it goes on about the Mygo frequently act against the cults of older old ones like Hastur and Cthulhu. In this regard, they can be dangerous and untrustworthy allies for the PC investigators at times. And I just thought, well, it's a little straight from the horse's mouth. The Mygo have no antagonism with Cthulhu, so it just bothered me a little bit, because I was hoping to use this as some kind of source book, because it's a handy collection of some of the mythos information. But that odd little thing made me question how accurate it is. But then I've got an old copy of Call of Cthulhu, and I think that can be fairly reliable. There are some really interesting things in this, in the monster section, because you get a sort of plot generator for each monster. So you can roll a die, like a 5. A Mygo artifact, brackets a deadly weapon, falls into the hands of a local gangster who uses it to ice his rivals. The Mygo want their tech back and recruit the investigators to find it and return it. So the Mygo in this case will be on the side of the investigators. But that is a really neat little plot generator. I quite like that idea. It's for all these the smaller monsters get these little generators. I think maybe the big ones do as well. Yeah, they do. Even the great old ones have plot generators, which is a really nice idea. Try to generate a character with the Cthulhu Abides system. Initially, I tried the random approach, which the book recommends, and I just ended up with a completely nonsensical character. The main attributes didn't really tally at all with the profession or the bonuses. It just didn't make any sense. So I decided to choose the attributes and the bonuses, but I've been taking so long trying to prepare this video and doing research into this stuff, and for me to get a decent grasp of this brand new, quite awkward game, the madness concept is very complicated. It uses a system of dynamic madness, where madness can actually become a bonus, in some ways. When you enter combat, you want to have a heightened sense of madness here. You need to be higher up than lucid, in which case you get extra bonuses when you're fighting. I mean, I wouldn't have thought it was designed to be a combat game, but it just seems very, very complicated to take all this into account, all the different aspects of madness, and what each one means in different situations. And I've decided my current feeling on this is to go with fighting fantasy, because it's just so simple. I've just added a few extra skills to the Advanced Fighting Fantasy Dungeoneer rules, like handgun, rifle, that kind of thing, modern weapons, modern sciences, drive, pilot, but the other skills straight from Dungeoneer, like con and magic, dodge, jump, unarmed combat, strength, that kind of thing. They weren't directly out of the book. I rolled up a character tonight in the Advanced Fighting Fantasy rules, and he's terrible. He's got a skill of 7, he's got stamina of 17 and luck of 7. I've put together a poxy amount of skills for him with his limited skill, and decided that in order to avoid fights, he'd need bonuses to his awareness, maybe, to try and avoid conflict, because he's not got much stamina. He won't be very good in a fight. The sanity, I've decided to use the magic rules from the Riddling Reaver. In this case, you roll 2d6 and add 6, and that's your sanity. You roll 3 dice to make a sanity roll. 6, 7, 8, he passes because he's got 14. And after making a roll, you would lose 1 sanity anyway, but if you failed, I was wondering whether to lose 1 d6 of sanity, or perhaps 2d6 if they're face to face with Cthulhu or something, or lose as many points as you lose the roll by. But I think maybe the d6 and 2d6 rolls might be alright. They'd suit Dungeoneer anyway. I did try to come up with my own simple game system for a Gothic horror adventure, but I play tested it and it didn't really feel right. It felt too... I just felt uncomfortable with how the maths was working. So I didn't want the characters to become overpowered like happened in some of my other role-playing videos. But these are 2 characters I've generated previously, which I'd forgotten about. They've got quite an interesting mixture of skills between them. I think it'd probably be best to take 2 characters into an adventure when you're facing incredibly powerful creatures. So if you come up against a monster, you're probably going to be in a lot of trouble. So I might use these 2, which I came up with before. As I've been working on the video for so long, I come up with things and then I forget about them, and then I find them later and I think, oh, I wish I'd thought of that again. But yeah, I've done a lot of research. I've created lots of characters. I've got some generating tools. These plot ideas for the monsters is a really nice idea. There's plenty of background in the stories themselves, and also in Call of Cthulhu itself. So I'm going to try... I started putting together an adventure which I was desperate not to do another dungeon crawl, the House of Klaus Kramer. It ended up being very much a dungeon crawl, and that's not what I want. I want, if you read, for instance, as I've been reading Whisper in the Darkness, it's a series of correspondence between a scholar and a guy who is also a scholar, but he's in the midst of the situation, and they're corresponding between each other, and there's increasing tension as their correspondence is being interfered with, and the story develops and builds, and the tension builds, and the danger builds up. So it's not kicking in the door, going into the dungeon and killing the monsters. It's got to be more subtle than that and more mysterious than that. And I'm not going to be able to create that by making a list of monsters and just having the characters go in with a few guns, rolling a die. Let's say, a 5 snakes, 1d6 snakes. I mean, it's not quite what you're looking for in a Gothic horror role-playing game, is it? So I'm going to use my story cubes again, and probably the location cards from Quest: A Time of Heroes. I have those in a dice chart in here somewhere. but I can't find them. But yeah, the location cards, I've got a deck of Mythos cards, which may not be helpful, but I'm going to have a go over the weekend and see how it turns out.